Hi, my name's Mark Evans. I'm the VP of Global Marketing for Endace, and I'm your MC for today's webinar. First up, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to register and attend. We're really looking forward to showing you the power of combining Darktrace and Endace together. So thank you for taking the time. As you may be able to tell from my accent, I'm not from around here. I'm from New Zealand, so it's currently 4 AM in the morning here, so my apologies if I sound a bit sleepy, but I'm told the New Zealand accent actually makes all Kiwis sound a little sleepy, so that's part of it too. Anyway, luckily for you all, I'm not the one presenting today. Today we're very fortunate to have Eloy Avila, who's Darktrace's CTO for the Americas, and Michael Morris, who's Global Director of Business Development here at Endace, with us today. They're going to walk you through the partnership between Endace and Darktrace and give you a quick overview of our respective products and how we've integrated them and what that integration enables you to do. And then they're going to follow that with a demonstration of how the powerful combination of our two products can be used to very effectively detect and investigate and respond to, in this case, a real-world attack, which I'm sure you'll find very interesting. We do have some time for questions at the end, so please do fire them through, and we'll get Eloy and Michael to answer them for you after their demonstration's finished. And to ask a question, you can post those through using the chat function on your screen. Also, if you would like us to follow up with you directly on anything we show or talk about today, you can also post a message that way too. Let us know, and we can then get back to you all individually. So feel free to do that. And so, without further ado, I'd like to thank you all for attending again, and I'll hand over to Michael and Eloy now to take us through.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. We're very happy to be here. My name is Eloy Avila. I'm the Americas CTO for Darktrace. And joining me here with Endace is Michael Morris, who's the Director of Global Business Development.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Eloy, and thank you for everyone for joining. We're really excited to be sharing the power of our joint solution, and I'll let Eloy start it off.
Thanks, Michael. So we're really excited to share some more details on the integration that leverages Darktrace's world-class cyber AI and the enterprise immune system, as well as the power of the Endace Pro Analytics platform that we believe is really transforming the economics of cybersecurity within the enterprise. We're going to go over some of the augmented power of the combined solutions, some use cases, as well as show you a live demo in action. So let's dive in. Now, Darktrace's approach is fundamentally different. We were originally inspired by the human immune system, which is designed to embrace the challenges of the modern enterprise in a way. And in life, much like in our digital ecosystems, attacks, viruses, bacteria, these things are just inevitable. Now, our skin protects us to a certain extent, as do our perimeter defenses. But the immune system is essential in our internal well-being, delivering a very rapid and precise response to new threats. This immune system works on the principle of understanding self. In essence, what's me, what's not me, what's my enterprise, and what's not my enterprise. And it uses this understanding to effectively target abnormal behaviors and to take action against them. It expects intrusion, and it responds routinely. With Darktrace, the artificial intelligence works in a similar way. We call it the enterprise immune system, and it's a self-learning cyber AI that detects and responds to potentially threatening behavior on your network. The software looks across the entire digital infrastructure using raw network traffic and learning what normal activity looks like. It does this by building a pattern of life, as we call it, across that entire organization for every single device and every person on that organization. And then from this unique and evolving pattern of life, Darktrace can then start to identify and fight back against threatening activity before damage is done. And then critically, we do this without using rules or signatures. I think it's a big differentiator. We don't make assumptions of what bad looks like up front. Instead, the self-learning approach detects subtle deviations and anomalies irrespective of wherever that activity originated. The beauty of this approach, this self-learning approach, is that it can then be deployed on any type of network and can learn from any type of data on that network. It scales linearly and it provides 100% visibility to your network. So let's go into a bit more of that. Now, why did we get here as Darktrace? Well, the reality is when we deploy into our customers' networks, be it for a POV or for a production rollout, there are obviously dozens and dozens of other security tools in place, whether it's next-gen firewalls, SIEMs, endpoint agents, antivirus, what have you. The reality is our AI is still finding interesting threats and vulnerabilities in that first week oftentimes. And why is that? Well, today's enterprises are much, much different than they were 5 or 10 years ago. It's pretty clear that the old way of doing security is just not good enough. The threat landscape has continued to evolve. It's gotten much more complex. Attackers are getting more clever. They're getting more advanced. They're sharing more of their tools. These are becoming more diverse. They're available much more readily across the open dark web. And many of these attacks are now happening at machine speed. This creates challenges for human teams. We've all seen the horror stories with ransomware moving within minutes, sometimes seconds, and causing havoc across our enterprises. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to continue to see silent and stealthy attackers that are blending into the noise of our busy networks. And so we believe there's this arm race developing, and our human teams who are triaging manually, looking at thousands of alerts on a daily basis, are just not going to be able to keep up. And it's against this backdrop of ever-increasing business complexity, this sheer number of new network things that we're adding to our networks that our teams are struggling with, and why we believe a new approach was necessary. We consider the enterprise immune system an AI platform. Customers start with the enterprise immune system and then can extend coverage as needed, be it into the cloud, into virtual environments, SaaS applications, or on the OT side with ICS or SCADA environments. To begin with, the enterprise immune system provides complete network visibility and a world-class anomaly detection ability, as well as threat hunting. We do this via rapid investigations with very, very rich and full context using the 3D threat visualizer. And then, based on this very intimate understanding of self, the enterprise immune system can then extend that ability into autonomous response via a module we call Antigena. Here we take the high fidelity threats, those with the potential for the most harm, oftentimes moving at much faster speed than humans can react, and do autonomous response via the AI, augmenting the SOC and providing that activity, whether it's through the SOC directly or when your analysts are on the move via our mobile app. So how does this work? Well, in this day and age, and 6 years in, just about everyone is talking about machine learning and AI, and there's a lot of hype out there. Many other vendors have taken machine learning or AI and bolted it onto legacy approaches, or maybe they're taking historical attacks as a training set. However, that's essentially not necessarily a fundamentally new approach. It's basic machine learning that replicates rules and signatures, maybe automate some of that learning, essentially predefining the problem, looking at what yesterday's bad looked like. With Darktrace, our machine learning experts and mathematicians have used a combination of unsupervised to begin with, as well as some aspects of supervised and deep learning to provide a much more holistic approach to that raw network traffic. And critically, this machine learning approach allows the AI to learn on the job. And we believe that only by learning what your network looks like uniquely and developing a sense of self can we actually scale, regardless of whether we've seen something ahead prior. And it's this continuously adapting, constantly calculating set of probabilities that allows us to evolve based on new evidence, based on new behavior observations, new devices coming and going, as well as users. This allows us to grow with you, to keep up with the ever-changing networks and the infrastructure and the features of our modern businesses. The enterprise immune system was also designed to protect your entire business. as I mentioned earlier with the platform approach, your data and your users are really everywhere nowadays. Cloud, different data centers, virtual data centers, they're logging in remotely, interacting with different objects, you're adding different objects to your network. And so we've designed the enterprise immune system to detect and fight back wherever it's deployed. Customers might start off in the industrial control side of it and then add to it. So we want to grow with you and unify your security strategy to extend this AI defense across the entire business. And we can do this at a pace that suits you by design. Now, we've been in business for about 6 years, and we've got over 7,000 deployments worldwide. And every single day, we detect a range of threats and vulnerabilities that traditional security defenses are just missing. They range from advanced malware to ransomware to insider threats to latent vulnerabilities within systems to IoT hacks, be they air conditioning units or fish tanks, as we'll see in a little bit. We run into a very wide range of threats that we've detected across networks around the world. And in many cases, these are 0 days or previously unknown variants of threats that customers aren't finding with legacy tools, with signature approaches. And sometimes we'll go back into systems that do these signature approaches and detect them afterwards when we've already blocked it within their networks. So let's go over a few of these. Now, this is an example you may have seen in the news, but as our businesses grow and they become much more dynamic and we're looking for profit in different ways, employees become more productive and more creative. In this particular case, we had a North American casino that had installed a pretty high-tech, fancy fish tank as a new attraction in their main entryway. And with much of the IoT sensors today, this fish tank had a lot of advanced sensors that were connected to essentially a laptop underneath to allow it to control temperature, to control water quality, et cetera, et cetera. What they didn't realize was that this became an entry point for attackers, and eventually attackers did go through these sensors, managed to pivot their way into that laptop with the aim to target an internal database of those high rollers, those big spenders within the casino. Luckily, in this particular case, Darktrace detected the lateral movement, the anomalous intrusion through the fish tank, and actually stopped it. So this was one of those interesting cases where oftentimes our security teams aren't aware of the devices being added to our networks and that these devices pose a threat or a door for attackers to come in through. The second example is a global financial services company where an employee essentially circumvented corporate policy, and this happens all the time. This particular employee checked her personal email on a company laptop, opened up a Word document which had a malicious file. This file then started beaconing out and started bringing down a suspicious exe file, an executable as seen by our enterprise immune system. Here we recognize that activity is highly anomalous. We saw that the machine learning started picking up on a deviation from that pattern of life for that user and for that device. That executable attempted to begin encryption of SMB file shares, which again was a deviation from that pattern of life. And this is one example where within about 33 seconds, and many times much, much faster, both the threat was identified, the various indicators of attack were identified, but then that pattern of life was enforced by Antigena. That autonomous AI response blocked that connection, that malicious file from continuing to reach out and encrypt files while allowing that user to continue on their work as if nothing had happened. This is crucial in that it provides our analysts, our security teams, with that much needed time to then react and remediate without having to wait to get to that alert, triage, and then make a decision. Now, I want to hand it over to Michael, who's going to walk us through the Endace platform and the integration work we've done to supercharge this combined solution. Michael?
Thanks, Eloy. Yeah, so at Endace, we really are excited about the joint partnership with Darktrace, combining the cyber AI intelligence that Darktrace brings with our industry-leading Endace Probe Analytics platform, where it's really changing the game and the economics of cybersecurity. So let's start with a little bit of background. Why does SecOps need network history? It's critical in today's environment to be able to rapidly identify and detect an issue, which obviously Darktrace is leading in that endeavor with their AI solutions. But what's also important is that's one part of the challenge. You then need to fully investigate the breadth and depth of any threat, and really be able to then remediate and report, whether it be for compliance laws or just auditing purposes. But the average time to really contain a breach is over 66 days. So having network history that looks back and gives you that long enough window to fully investigate and fully understand the breadth of an incident is critical for any SecOps team to really reduce not only their cost to their company in terms of brand hit, or just cost of stolen records lost. So Endace has been around for over 15 years, and that's where we're 100% focused, is on providing rich, scalable network history that you can fastly search for investigations when doing a forensics threat hunting. And we serve some of the top telcos of the world, some of the top banks of the world, some of the top exchanges. We're in some of the top 50 Fortune environments, and we're a trusted supplier for many years to several government and military entities. Any environment where it's critical to know what's happening on your network is a good fit for where Endace is at. And then adding the power of a Darktrace Cyber AI just makes a really complete solution. So combined, we deliver a scaled, accurate network history. We provide agility for SecOps and NetOps and DevOps. And with Endace being the open platform to enable you to use other tools you may be already using as part of your cyber defense strategy. The traditional approach, though, is many of the tools you might be using have dedicated appliance. And this is where we're really affecting the economics of the security challenge. By enabling an open platform that's capturing always-on network history and letting you not only integrate from a pivot and a workflow point of view from tools you're using, but in many cases also, as with Darktrace, being able to run components on the platform so that you can then quickly deploy and scale out your deployments across your network, really providing that flexible, scalable, and low-cost total cost of ownership. So what is our platform? Well, Endace's Probe, this is our largest box, which provides up to almost a petabyte of network storage traffic, is recording at line rate with 0 packet loss, really giving you that accurate granularity of what's happening on the wire. Meanwhile, we've partitioned part of our appliance to enable you to host other analytics tools like Darktrace on your box to do surveillance and inspection of traffic at multiple points in the network. As we're recording packet, we can stream it to those in the Darktrace sensor and let it do its analytics and investigation of all the traffic happening on the network. Similarly, then we can play back data. So as we've recorded it, maybe you've made a change in your firewall settings or want to validate the configuration of something. You can play back pieces of data so that you can validate either good or bad scenarios that your changes are performing as expected. And lastly, we provide a full RESTful API for pivoting from many tools you might be using in your environment in doing your investigations and doing your SIEM management of your infrastructure to really enable you to quickly get to rich packet history to understand the depth of an investigation. The Endace Probe really then becomes a single source of truth for all your different groups within your IT infrastructure. Whether it's your SecOps teams, which obviously we're primarily focused on here in this discussion, or maybe it's even your issues that NetOps and DevOps are having. Is it the app or is it the network? Our appliance can be leveraged and the data within it can be leveraged for any of these organizations to really do a comprehensive investigation. And in terms of scalability, this is where Endace really differentiates in the market. We provide the industry-leading storage capability and extensibility so that you can deploy network probes across your environment to have full visibility, what we call enterprise-class network packet capture across your entire environment. And secondarily, being able to scale that data not only in terms of recording it, but to quickly traverse through tremendous volumes of network recorded traffic at a quick pace to find that needle in the haystack scenario. So as Darktrace may have identified a threat to a given host in the environment, then you can pivot and drill down and get to all the different devices on your network that might have had network communications with that infected host. And that's really where we get into the power of the combined Darktrace and Endace solution. So coming back to one of Eloy's slides, and Eloy, chime in here, you definitely provide increased visibility on not only in the cloud environment, but in the detection of looking for not only threats and signatures in the traffic, but simply anomalous behaviors. And with Endace, you can then scale and really give you a much longer history of investigation of network traffic by the extensibility of our packet capture solution. Anything you want to add here, Eloy?
Yeah, that's right, Michael. Essentially, the integration allows us to really extend the reach of where the enterprise immune system can provide that visibility. Not only is it giving you the ability to look at much larger pipes from a bandwidth perspective, it's really extending the reach for investigations beyond the normal time horizons that our customers are used to on our appliances and the default settings there. And then obviously the one-click visibility and ability to dive into packets and the history there really extends not only what we can do from an investigative standpoint on our own platform with Darktrace, but also extend its capabilities to reach much further back and at higher visibility for full packet history within Endace.
Yeah, and in environments that have a large number of Endace probes, it gives them a chance to quickly deploy Darktrace across that infrastructure easily as well. So really part of this is elevating your security posture, right? And one of the things we're hoping to do is a joint solution for our mutual customers is really allow you to elevate your SecOps, right? By providing them the rich, deep packet forensic data on top of all the information that Darktrace is providing with its AI engine. And giving them the ability to do scaled searches across the entire network. Eloy, you mentioned being able to monitor at different lengths. Obviously, the Endace probe has the ability to capture at line rate on everything from 1 gig to 40 gig environments. And then being able to put the Darktrace sensors out there really expands the reach of where you're doing surveillance as well. And this simplifies the hardware fatigue and creates agility in the deployment for the SecOps groups, leveraging a platform for not only the packet capture, but also for deployment of the sensors or other tools they may be running in their environment that are part of their overall network management. Ultimately giving them confidence in knowing the full depth and breadth of any potential breach. So when something is identified in the Darktrace enterprise immune system, really then knowing how far and wide it might have been so you can really quickly contain and remediate the threat. So what is the integration? Again, kind of two parts. The first part is the rapid workflow investigation. So from the very impressive Darktrace UI, looking at all of the anomalies and information across the environment, being able with the one-click workflow to drill down to packet data that Endace has captured. Secondarily, and again optionally for customers, giving them the ability to put more Darktrace sensors out in their environment. Oftentimes working together in the clients we've worked with so far, we'll see customers will have n number of Darktrace physical sensors out there, but being able to put additional virtual sensors out, maybe in additional locations in the network, really expands the coverage of threat surveillance. So drilling in and giving some live screenshots, but we'll see more in the demo, of course, from an event window within Darktrace. As you're starting to dig into the forensics that Darktrace provides, there's a drop-down box where you can then pivot to Endace Vision, where it'll reach out to the probe where the relevant data was acquired, and bring up a window of Endace Vision, where you can then look at traffic breakdowns, conversation history, top talkers, basically full DPI types of information on what was happening on the wire, and being able to start that deeper investigation into the traffic flows and the packet history. Finally, culminating in a very deep Wireshark-like view of having full packet data, so you can see all the bits and bytes transferred in both directions to and from the potentially infected host. The second piece of the integration, again, as talked about, really expanding the ability to deploy the surveillance wider by deploying the Darktrace virtual sensor on the Endace probe. So as we may be in different locations in the network, critical data centers, remote offices, you could also put the Darktrace sensor out in those locations. And then again, the workflows would work the same, coming from their master server, drilling down from the data of now having a much wider net of surveillance sensors. And how it fits into an overall SecOps environment. Oftentimes we run into many customers who are trying out Darktrace or using Darktrace, fully have an overall network SIEM environment, something like Splunk, maybe IBM QRadar. In either case, either pivoting from Darktrace directly to the Endace data or leveraging the SIEM that you might be using and pivoting as well. Either way, the joint solution really complements the overall security strategy within your environment. So where do we deploy? Again, kind of painting a picture across the infrastructure. Maybe it's branch offices, maybe it's data centers, maybe it's trusted DMZ zones, but really giving the ability to expand the surveillance of Darktrace by deploying additional sensors across the network, giving wider visibility into its inspection of the traffic, as well as full traffic capture at each of those locations that can be rapidly searched upon any threat that might need further investigation. So why add Endace to a Darktrace deployment? Really to extend the network history for fast and accurate investigations, capture and retain the data for forensic data compliance purposes, monitor at potentially different speeds in your network, across the network, and really simplify and optimize hardware strategy. So making it simpler in the overall cost of ownership for the power of the joint solutions. So hopefully this has been clear on why all the value of the combined solution, but I think really the proof is in the pudding, seeing a real world incident and seeing a demo of the live products together and seeing how easy it is to traverse from a threat identified by Darktrace into the packet data to really understand the breadth of a breach. And here's the scenario we recorded a few weeks ago, and we'll run through that scenario sequence now. Okay, now let's switch over to the demo screen. Hopefully you can all see the screen now. As I log into the Darktrace Enterprise Immune System UI, I can quickly get an overview of the security health of my overall infrastructure. I see the total number of subnets, 23. I see the total number of devices, number of servers and clients and user credentials being monitored across the infrastructure. In the bottom of the screen, I can see at a glance in my tray here, a number of key anomalies and associated devices those warnings or alerts are associated to. In the network visualization area, I can zoom in and look at a graphical view of my overall infrastructure. Looking at my devices with the most recent breach alarms, I want to drill in to understand what's happening with a key system on my network here that has 3 alarms. From the pop-up indicator, I can see some interesting behaviors already, such as beacon requests to external endpoints. This is a common indicator that the malware is making contact with an external host to activate or download further additional malicious software. I also see suspicious HTTP redirect connections. So I'm going to drill into this to understand more details around this. Interestingly, these beacons are seemingly hitting a server in the country of France. That's unusual in itself. But then as I look down at the external connections, I see Windows Update connection attempts to what appears to be different Microsoft Windows Update servers. It's unusual that these would be different, and so I definitely want to get more information about these 2 items. As I continue to scroll down, I see even more suspicious behavior where I'm getting HTTP redirect connections coming off of the requested contacts or connections to the Windows Update servers. So for this device, I'm going to want to drill into the device log, and I can do that by simply clicking on the device host name and then coming up here to the top to get much more information about the overall system itself. As I drill into this event log, at the very top, I'm giving some warning indicators. I'm getting invalid SSL certificate connections. So there's definitely something to dig in further on this system. I see here that I've got invalid file names for Microsoft Windows Update servers. And again, another invalid SSL certificate. As I scroll down through the timeline a little bit, again, I see these compromised beacon connections to external hosts. But I really want to get more information about what's going on with these external connections. As I scroll down, I see here that I have a hostname connection with no DNS lookup. That in itself is suspicious because now I'm making contact to an external host and I appear to be doing a HTTP post based off of a CGI execution. And I'm now making HTTP post connections to this external box that thinks it's a Microsoft box, but it's actually showing failed connections. Again, failed DNS lookups, invalid certificates. We definitely want to get more information about what's happening in these connections. So from here, I want to drill in and look at all the network data happening on this device. Here's where I can pivot to Endace Vision for more insights on the network traffic happening in and out of this connection. Okay, now that we're here in Endace Vision, let's set the stage and understand what all we're looking at here. First of all, we've drilled in from Darktrace in context with that source IP and the timestamp 10 minutes surrounding that event, 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after. We see the volume of traffic information that Endace has already pre-captured because Endace is an always-on packet capture solution. In the visualization, we've got a couple of key tabs already populated. One is the conversation, which is all the different network conversations happening with this IP address. Also have a traffic breakdown, and we'll drill into further details about that as we zoom in here. But it's just showing you at a high level what the traffic profile types. So in this particular case, we've got SSL, HTTP, and DNS traffic in this window. I want to adjust my filters a little bit though, because I want to view all the traffic to and from this box, not just the communication between these two devices. So from this original IP address, the 10.1.2.1, I'm going to look at all traffic in all directions to and from this box. Now here's some interesting information. So at a quick glance, I saw the connections with that original server, but I also see now a very large TCP traffic, and I believe this is the HTTP post that has been sent to this unknown external host. As I look at the traffic breakdown, I can zoom in on a tighter window on this time span to look at the specific traffic protocols that are happening in this sequence. In Endace Vision Traffic View, I can remove some of the HTTP traffic, and as I drill in, I can see I'm trying to establish the initial DNS request. That's then followed by SSL connections, and then the attempted connection to the Microsoft update server. It's after that sequence of things that happen that now there's a significant HTTP traffic upload. So this is where I want to drill in further to really understand what's happening in the system. What is in that traffic that is being exfiltrated from my network? From here, I could jump directly to Endace packets to look at the traffic as well. But I want to save this off to a PCAP file so that I can maybe have it for later recourse as needed. So while that's being downloaded, I can look at other host names that this is being connected to. And so I have an overall view, hey, there may be some other systems, A, within my network or other systems outside of my network that have been in contact with this infected host. My PCAP looks like it's almost done here. So let's open it when done. Okay, now that we've got the Darktrace PCAP downloaded, let's open that file in Wireshark so we can drill into and see what all was really happening. Okay, in here, I see a lot of the sequences, but I want to simplify my search because I'm looking through a lot of traffic data. So let's apply a filter to look at just the HTTP traffic. Okay, so here I tried to get the Windows update. And here I have an interesting sequence of a GET with a really long malformed sequence of characters. Again, very suspicious type of activity. And there you can see the full URL frame. But I want to continue to understand what happened with the post. Interesting. From here, I see a PHP script has been activated as part of this post. So here I really want to drill into more information. So let's view this. Let's analyze this whole HTTP stream. And here's what I'm needing to get to the level of detail. As I look at this HTTP stream, I see a username and a password and a file name that I know is sensitive on this server, designpatent.xlsx. So clearly a spreadsheet with patent information associated to it. I can scroll through here more to see if there's any interesting information or sensitive information tied to engineers. Maybe there's personnel information. See if we can find some info. Okay, here we go. In the XSL traffic, I'm now seeing engineer names, cell phone numbers, sensitive information tied to the folks as part of this design project. Okay, so now that we've understood the raw details and the specific data that has been exfiltrated, let's go back to Endace and summarize. So in a matter of minutes, we've been able to identify the threats from anomalous behavior that Darktrace has captured. And we've been able to understand that the sequence is an attempted Microsoft Windows update that has been redirected to a fake Windows Update server. It's been a WordPress server that was running that RHSS or RSS PHP script that has now instigated and activated the malware that has now kicked off the exfiltration of local sensitive data. So in a matter of minutes, we've identified the sequence of events, the threat actor IPs and systems that are connected to this event, and exactly what data was exfiltrated. I hope this is clear how easy it was to use our two solutions together. And now let's open the floor for some questions.
Thanks, Michael. That was great. Hopefully you all found that interesting. So now we're open for questions. If anybody has any questions, fire them through. We've got a couple that have come through already, so might start off with those. So the first one that we'd like to start with is from looks like Tony. So Tony's asked, how much data do we need to store, and how long a history do companies typically keep? So Michael, it sounds like it's one for you. I might throw that over to you.
Yeah, no problem. So that's a great question, and the answer varies depending on company. Certainly some decide that they want to keep all the traffic. Some have made the decision that they want to filter the different types of traffic or segments of traffic that they want to look at. And so they'll partition data files of capture that they want to keep longer versus some others. We have many financial institution traders that want to do this as a specific example. I'd say the kind of general rule that we're running into is most companies need to be able to keep the data for at least a few weeks or months. We're being more consistently asked for up to 3 or 6 months worth of traffic. And so it all depends. But what I think folks are finding is many tools that they're already using allow them to do small snippets of packet capture and grab a few packets here or there. Many of the IDS systems allow that. Darktrace itself enables you to capture a few days of traffic. And that's really how we complement them in this solution by really extending the storage capability for customers. And this is often really important in larger environments, because what more and more they're realizing is they need the data longer to get through the complexity of some of the investigations. They're also needing it for compliance purposes and things like this. But they're also finding it's frankly more affordable to keep it than they realized. And having it is kind of that insurance policy and really protecting and understanding their brand and their overall corporate environment. So hopefully that answers that.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, that's good. Now there's one here from Kevin who asks, this looks like it's one for Eloy, I think. Can Darktrace support non-traditional forms of information? Eloy, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and thanks for the question. So our technology was designed initially to extract in real time as quickly as possible some close to 400 features, measures, metrics, inferences from raw network traffic. But we do have ways for supplementing that or enriching what we're seeing in that raw network traffic into the appliance, into the solution as well. So that's different ways of adding log ingestion. Customers typically will feed us DHCP type data that allows us to track devices across as they move across the network. That's pretty common. We've got customers ingesting Active Directory type information, as well as blacklist, whitelist type information. So there's a couple different ways that we can add additional data to enrich our understanding and the metrics that we extract from raw network traffic. And then when it comes to SaaS and cloud, we're actually relying pretty heavily on many of the log forms and the APIs and the data streams that these SaaS applications provide as part of our ingestion into the solution as well.
Great. So fair. Thank you. We have another question here from Jeff. How do you handle encrypted traffic? And is there any point in recording it if you can't go ahead and analyze it? Sounds like that's, or maybe we might start with Michael, and sounds like Eloy probably can add to that too. So Michael, do you want to kick off and start?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Two parts to how I would answer that. First, just by gathering even the encrypted traffic, there's a fair bit of rich information from the packet headers and conversation flows. You can see certificate exchanges, and there's a lot of other useful data just even in the non-encrypted pieces. So recording that, certainly gets you well down the path in understanding an investigation. Often what happens, and second answer to my question, with a lot of our environments that are highly encrypted data, we actually have some other partners like Gigamon and Ixia, both which have network packet brokers that can also do traffic decryption. So in many cases, what we'll do is, as we're getting it off the network, we'll typically be getting it from a TAP or a packet broker, and we'll run it through their system to decrypt it before it goes into our box for storage. And so again, that gives us the ability to have secured traffic in a decrypted model if needed for an investigation. Now, I know this gets more complicated with some of the new encryption technologies, specifically TLS 1.3. And so we're working through different options on that and sharing certificates and keys on things like that. But those are the common approaches we do today. Eloy, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so from our end, we actually started by designing the solution, because if we go back and consider that we're doing anomaly detection, one of the many metrics that we look at is whether traffic is normally encrypted or not. And we do some sort of clever JA3 hashing to determine whether changes in the encryption or the handshakes or the certs will tell us something as well. But by and large, for most of our customers, the vast majority of our deployments, we're analyzing, we're finding the anomalies, we're producing the alerts without requiring traffic to be decrypted. It's obviously a bonus, and then we typically rely on partners to do that for us, or when we need to go back and inspect the payload.
Great, thanks, Eloy. We have a question here from Michael, which is, I think, looks like it's aimed at you, Eloy. Can you please explain or demo automated response from Darktrace? I'll answer the second part of that. I don't think we have time to demo that, but certainly we can reach out to you and demo that separately. But perhaps, Eloy, if you could explain how the automated response works, and we can reach out to Michael separately on the demo.
Absolutely, great question. So Antigena, and it's something we came up with a couple of years ago. It was that next evolution in our paradigm of the enterprise immune system, in essence, to say, when we've got a certain type of alert, when we know these are with high confidence and have the potential for a lot of damage, Antigena is essentially looking at what's normal for that device, what's normal compared to its peers. And when we think about normal, that's everything from the time of day, the protocol, the direction, the port something's communicating on. And so we can actually enforce that via a couple different ways. Traditionally on the network, that's TCP resets. So we're essentially spoofing both sides of the connection and blocking that specific set of communication. So if we like to think of it as interrupting that conversation. So that might be a given port from one device to another device in that direction. We block that for 30 minutes, 3 hours, say, all the way through to fully quarantining all outbound connections. So this thing can actually act in an escalated manner based on how we see that device continue to react in a malicious way. That's the first approach. The second is Antigena actually allows us to integrate directly with your firewall. So just about any modern age firewall will have ACLs or active control lists that we can use to inform that firewall to block certain things. So we can do it through both of those ways. The ways in which it triggers is typically done initially as a recommendation, so that humans, that SOC team gets familiar with the approach. You can restrict it to certain subnets, devices, certain types of models. It's highly tunable. So that's how Antigena on the network side works.
Great, thanks, Eloy. I think we've got time for maybe one more question. So there's a question here from Susan. Isn't it difficult to find evidence for a breach if you've got really large volumes of data? And how do you make it simpler for me to do my job as a security analyst? Michael, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, no problem. So no, that's a great question, and it can be quite challenging digging through lots of packet data. But this is where some key differentiators of Endace really help in this issue. So first of all, Endace has a high-speed search capability, so that we can enable a user or an analyst to look through literally petabytes of network traffic to find a single IP address in under 30 seconds. So no more queuing up search queries and waiting for them to return so you can come back at a later point in time and dig through the data. Second, and this is part of Endace's approach as an open platform, is to enable easy integrations from tools you're already using, like the example we've shown here with Darktrace, being able to drill down and pivot from an event or an alarm in Darktrace. But maybe it's from a SIEM, whether again that's Splunk or QRadar that you might be using. Having the ability to focus from an anomaly that other tools you're already using, and then drill down to relevant packet data, so data that's associated to the time and the IP of that event, enables you to really focus as an analyst to get to meaningful data. And you combine that with our high-speed search capability and being able to look at all the raw packets, really makes investigations much simpler and much more efficient.
Great, thank you, Michael. Anything you want to add to that, Eloy?
No, I think Michael covered it pretty well this time.
Great. All right. Look, I think we've run out of time. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to attend. And we'll certainly follow up and send you some further information. And to Michael, who was keen to see a demo of the anti-Gina response, we'll reach out to you directly as well. If you do have any further questions that you would like answered, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact us, and we'll get back to you. Again, thank you very much, and thanks to Eloy and Michael for their great presentation. Thanks all. We'll end here. Thank you.